January meeting, our first meeting of 2025 for the City of Annapolis Environmental Commission. Jeremy Hansen, the current chair, but if all goes well, there will be a new chair by the end of the meeting. So I want to call us to order. I'll go around the horn and do a roll call based on the order of folks on my screen, starting with Alicia.
Alicia Roberson, Ward 7.
Kathy.
Good evening, Kathy Welker, Ward 5.
Linda.
Hi there, Linda Matthew, Ward 5.
Marianne.
Good evening, Marianne Marbury, Ward 1.
And Bill.
Good evening, Bill O'Leary, Ward 2.
And next, the city staff. Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie Gild, Deputy City Manager for Resilience and Sustainability. I just bugged out to watch the newscast on WMAR where I just was on TV about the plastic bags, which went into effect today.
Yes, that's right. And Dylan.
Hi, all. Dylan Lakonich, Environmental Programs Coordinator for the city.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. So we have a relatively light agenda potentially tonight, but we do have order of business of selecting new leadership. We also have a couple letters of support to run through and go through ongoing business or updates from the city, as well as beginning discussion of our 2025 priorities. Before we get to the leadership item, figured we'd get through the letters of support and get those out of the way. I appreciate the comments and edits for folks correcting some things I missed. So the letters are pretty similar, but I think we still need to do this one at a time. So I'll start with do I say Hennessy? Genesee? Assume it's Hennessy. Street
Genesee.
project. Hennessy?
Genesee.
Oh, it is Genesee. Okay, thank you.
Like the beer.
I never know until I actually hear someone say them. So both of these projects, I'll just say generally, I'm not an expert on the specifics of either project. I did provide links to the information that Severn River has on their website about each site and project. The Genesee project would involve clearing out sediment that has built up over the decades in a swale along Genesee, and as part of that, removing invasive species and reducing flooding in that area. The other project, Poplar Woods and Pearl Heights, are the neighborhood names, I assume, and it's near or between the streets of, I think, Bowie Ave. Which roads was it? Bowie Ave, Gross Ave, and Poplar Avenues. And that, I believe the current concept for that involves what looks like step pools or perhaps just multiple gardens infiltration. But that would be also stormwater management of a different nature to improve the drainage for that site. I think the Genesee project in particular has been a known issue for quite some time, as it was identified as far back and was included in the city's watershed implementation plan. And don't have more to say on the other project, but not sure if Jackie, you or Dylan have more to add about these projects or know anything else that you want to add.
Dylan provided some additional information to the commission describing both of the projects. Dylan, you might want to just summarize them quickly.
Yeah, so are we referring to those which were in the January highlights?
I saw them somewhere. Were they
mentioned in your highlights?
No, not the Poplar. I thought you sent the commission some additional information.
I'm struggling to remember exactly which one.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misread that. One's a bioretention project and one's a, well, they're both stormwater reduction projects. So one's a bioretention project behind, was it Second Baptist Church? That's the Weems Creek.
Yeah, I remember
Watershed.
the effort from DPW, that letter of support.
Yes,
The
that
other-
sounds like that's the Poplar Woods.
Poplar Woods.
one.
See, I must
that's-
have got them mixed up.
And then
Okay.
the other one drains to College Creek. I sent you a message earlier, Jeremy, that you might not have seen. It's too close to the meeting, that I believe the subject line of both letters refers to the Genesee project.
Yes, I did make that correction.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I actually live on Genesee Street, and the swale is in my backyard. So I've met with Ben Furtick about this.
Oh, good.
And actually, it's an open air swale up until about halfway through my backyard, where it goes back underground. And there's just a big circular hole in the ground, and with some metal grates over it, and a ton of debris gets clogged up, and then my backyard turns into a lake. So the city used to come out and clean the swale years ago, and then they stopped doing that. And so it's kind of been up to the homeowners.
So Bill, did Ben describe the project to you? What they plan to do there?
He said they're still studying it, so they didn't have, definitive plans for what they intend to do. But there's a lot of infill where it's just been silted in quite a bit, and there's a lot of scrub trees, like locusts and such, that are in bad shape. I don't know exactly what they intend to do, but I'm hoping that they have some kind of step pools or something along that line, so that all the water has a chance to drain into the ground before it gets into that outflow pipe. And you went on mute.
And that's what they'll probably end up doing if there's enough grade there, Bill, is put some sort of step pool conveyance system there.
Right. There's not a ton of grade, but hopefully there's enough for them to work with. But it's about 4.5 to 5 acres that drains to that single pipe. So it gets a good amount of flow in my backyard when it rains.
That's great.
So I'm all in favor.
Yeah, and it looks like this. So that in both cases, they're submitting to the Bay Trust Anne Arundel County Watershed Restoration Grant Program. Looks like both would support the design work, and maybe get most of the way towards the construction. I'm not 100% clear based on what I know, but I think we can still be supportive of Severn River Association getting the funds to move these projects forward.
So most of the time when they submit for design, they come back in the second round of the next year for the construction funds.
Yeah.
Usually they're going to have to get more money, like money from DNR or some other source. It's usually DNR for the construction because it's so much more expensive. And the city only puts $300,000 into the Bay Trust projects, that fund for city projects. That, by the way, so everyone knows, that grant process is still open. It's not closed yet. So these groups like SRA have done their site visits with the city and with DNR, sorry, not DNR, the trust, Chesapeake Bay Trust, and received input and then developed their proposals. But if there's of other groups or communities that want to submit plans, it's still open. The awards are usually made, decisions are made in April, and the awards are in late April, early May.
Actually, looking at the site I sent the link to, does look as if I misspoke. The design work is completed for
Okay.
Genesee, but it was pretty recent, so it doesn't look like the website has that design available, but they say December 2024 design work completed. So now they're working on their proposal to submit by the March deadline for construction. Whereas for the Poplar Woods, yeah, this would be for funding to begin the design work. All right, did anyone have questions or suggestions on either letter that we need resolved before taking motions? All right. Well, thanks again for carefully reviewing the letters. With that, let's break the motions into two here. I think or can we do both at once? That'd be easier.
I don't see why not.
I'll take a motion either way. Or can I motion? Well, chair motions to adopt both letters as edited and present. I guess I haven't been sharing my screen. I've been talking as if I've been sharing my screen. But yeah, I'll move to approve both letters as currently written.
And I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. So I'll get those sent off to Ben so he can submit those along with their application in March. So thank you all for that. And with our next item, be leadership, and I'll start by saying, since I've been on the commission, we've done typically annual appointments for leadership. I think my term since I took over kind of mid-year, we extended that a little bit longer, so I covered all of last year as well. But when I looked at at least our section of the code, it doesn't seem to specify terms in office, but I thought it was typical for boards and commissions to have 1-year appointments for leadership. So I have been expecting to step down and I will remain on the commission, but I'm looking forward to handing off the reins to somebody else for the time. I think Jenny also feels the same way. I'm not sure if we have someone lined up for vice chair yet or not. We'll find out what happens. But I do want to thank everyone, the city staff and all the commission members. I've greatly enjoyed being chair. And maybe in the future we open to that again, but would like a year as just a normal member. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. You've been great.
Yeah, you've done a great job.
Great job.
Thank you.
I was going to
Appreciate that.
suggest that we keep you in office, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
This-
second that.
No, this would be a nice year to take off. I'll say that, and I think I would like to motion, and I assume she's still open to this, but I'd like to motion or nominate Kathy for the role of chair. But I wanted to know if there's other people who also want to throw their hat in the ring. Reached out to just a couple people, and once I got a yes, I stopped there. So Kathy, are you still open to serving as chair? Start with that question.
Yeah, I would be happy to, but also if someone else is interested, I'm not, I'm certainly willing to have someone else step into the role too.
That someone else could be your vice chair. It's not been a ton of time commitment, but I am finding myself in a position where I'm not able. I think probably someone else could put more time into it than I am, and So I wanted to put that out there. Jackie, do you know what the term limits are?
It's usually a year appointment. We're not bound. So we're supposed to every year. We're supposed to like see if the existing chairs would like to continue, or and if not, you nominate a new chair.
Okay.
So we do it. We do it yearly.
Okay. That's good to know. Well, do we have a nomination for vice chair? Did we find anyone, Jenny?
No, I didn't. I reached out to 2 people and there wasn't any takers so far. So
No, Tim,
now
like the
you
present.
can't take on this amazing role.
I was gonna say maybe we can have a discussion again later, just at the time. I don't really have the time right now, but if no one else is able to step up, maybe we can chat again about it.
Maybe revisit next month. Okay. Well, I think we can do that for one more month.
Sure.
Keep
We can
Jenny.
push off the vice chair, but it's great, Kathy, that you're ready to take on the chair role. I think you'll be great.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
I certainly look forward to this whole thing continuing to be the wonderful group effort that it is.
Yeah,
So was that a second, Jenny?
that's a second.
Well, I think I nominated, but now I'll make a motion to approve Kathy as our new chair.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Congrats.
Ayes have it.
Yay.
And with that, I'll pass the invisible gavel to you, Kathy, and you can run the rest
Yeah.
of the
Well, it hadn't entered my mind that I'd be responsible for like the rest of it.
meeting. Yeah, well, we can proceed however you'd like, because the remaining items on the agenda are just the beginning discussion of 2025 priorities, and if you want time to ruminate or plan, we can maybe turn instead next to city business and updates.
So the last year's priorities are on the Google Drive, correct? Because
Yes.
they weren't attached to anything. They weren't sent out ahead of this meeting, correct? I missed them.
No, I did not send them back out again.
Okay. Happy to open up a general discussion of what people are interested in. I know last year we carried a lot of them forward from the previous year. So if anybody would like to open the discussion with, what your priorities are, whether it's the same as last year or something new, I think having a discussion would be great. Dylan.
So Kathy, I could start that discussion. So my priority is the same as it's been, just driving the tree canopy goal. And what's great about, we really have had a lot of movement. Brian Adams is rolling out new statistics, and he's enhanced information on the city's website about the tree canopy goals. And Save Our Trees, the organization that I'm involved in, we're going to have a community forum on February 24th at the Bush Library. I'll send everybody a flyer. Brian will be speaking at that forum, and again, just rolling out new information on the tree canopy. In addition, we're going to have Bark Trees there to talk about tree maintenance, and Jack Turner is going to be there just to talk about what the Conservancy is doing in regard to the tree canopies. It should be a good forum with good turnout. We've had this will be our 3rd annual forum, and we usually, well, the last two forums we've had 30 to 50 people, so it's a good community event.
What time is that on the 24th?
Actually, it starts at 5:30, but I'll send you all. We should have our flyer ready by tomorrow or Friday, so I'll get it out to you just as soon as I can.
All right, thank you.
Any changes that you want to make to the way the priority was written, or?
No, actually, it's fine for now, but I'll actually revisit it and look at it. Yeah.
Okay. Dylan, your hand is up.
Yeah, not trying to get in the way of this open discussion. I do think there was minutes in the agenda. Do you want to approve those minutes, or? I'm not the
There
chair,
are.
so this
You're right.
We skipped that.
Yeah. Blame the former chair.
Should we take care of that, or can we wait till the end? Does it matter when in the meeting?
Usually after you start the meeting, that's one of the first things you do is approve the minutes.
Okay. I'll let us interrupt our priorities discussion then. I was not at the November meeting, so I do not know if they are correct or not. And I apologize for missing it. It was a mix up on my part about the day.
Wow.
So, oh yes, Linda.
I'd just like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for November.
I second.
I have one just typo correction, just fixing the spelling of my last name.
Oh,
I think it's in a few places.
Oh,
man. Okay.
And
My
then
apologies.
otherwise, yes.
H-A-N. Oh, H-A-N.
Ah, yeah. Okay, my apologies.
No worries.
All right. So I'm sorry. And someone second it? Second with the corrections, Jeremy
Yes, there was a second.
asked for.
That's
Okay.
just a
So with the
comment.
corrections, all in favor of
Aye.
accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up, Dylan.
No, yeah, of course.
Other suggestions for priorities? Would everybody like a chance to review them, and we'll talk next month?
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're on the Google Drive, so everybody can find them there. Take a look at them, and then we'll have a more in-depth discussion next month. Any other thoughts?
Kind of just looking at them right now, but I think, yeah, having a chance to kind of look at them a little more closely. Would be useful.
Okay. Jackie and Dylan, is there anything else we need to do to close that out before we move on to the next agenda item? Okay, great. So ongoing business and updates, turning to Jackie and Dylan.
There's just a few things I just want to bring to your attention as far as upcoming dates, in addition to the Save Our Trees event, that you may be interested in attending or telling others in your community about. There are going to be listening and outreach sessions with regard to the development of Kellers Beach, Elktonia. If you subscribe to the Rec and Parks or city announcements, you may have already received an email. It's probably on the Rec and Parks website as well. But January 30th, 31st, and 2nd at Pitt Moyer from 5 to 6:30, there will be listening sessions on various topics. There'll be different topics on different days. And then there's one of those dates, the 2nd of February, is a Saturday. So that session is from 9 to 11:30. And also on that day, there are 2 youth workshops. There's one at 10:30 to 12 where it's going to be a site visit to the Cars Beach area, an explanation of the background, the history, and what the plans are there. And then back at PIP at 12:30 for a visioning workshop with youth. So this all is going into the plan for how that site will be developed into a park. There's also a living shoreline restoration element to that, which is just starting to kick off as well. So there'll be a whole comprehensive park plan for the Cars Beach Park, which is, I think everyone here is well aware of what Cars Beach is by now. Or does anyone need an explanation? And I take that as you know what I'm talking about. Okay, and the other one I wanted to make you aware of is that the Annapolis Maritime Resilience Initiative, otherwise known as AMRE, is an initiative between the city and being led by the Resilience Authority to explore, do a technical feasibility study, and identify projects to address flooding and other resilience-related projects in the Spa Creek and Back Creek areas, mostly the Back Creek watersheds. And they will be having a presentation. The Resilience Authority will at Pip Moyer again on February 2nd from 6 to 8 p.m. Just soliciting public input, ask questions, see what they have proposed so far as types of projects they're looking at. This again is beginning. They have also they're working with in communications. The Resilience Authority, that is working with a communications firm to help them with the community outreach, because community outreach is a big part of this project. This is grant funded to the tune of $820,000 for the feasibility study and community outreach and the early identification of projects. Another related study is the Eastport Flooding Initiative that is spearheaded out of the Department of Public Works. Again, grant funded for about $420,000, a grant from FEMA and a grant from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That is mostly looking at street and flooding initially in the phase 1 part of it, identifying projects and how to address the flooding at street ends. And then phase 2 is going to focus on design for the Maritime Museum. I'm sure many of you are aware that the Maritime Museum floods on a regular basis. It's designed to take on water, but the design, I think, is getting overwhelmed because it's not designed for the amount of water and the amount of flooding, that frequency of flooding that we're now seeing. So that phase 2 will look specifically at the Maritime Museum and the 2nd Street Pump Station, which is right by the Maritime Museum. And then there'll be future construction phases to this project as well. Not everything is, the funding they have in hand is mostly for the feasibility studies, the communication and outreach, and the design. This project will eventually, to fully implement once all the projects are identified, will be a bit over $5 million. So there's a lot of public meetings coming up. There's a Save Our Trees one as well.
Could you, I caught the one with the Resilience Authority, but that's different than the Cars Beach. What is the project again?
So there's Cars Beach.
Uh-huh.
And that's the one where they're doing a shoreline restoration at the beach.
Right.
And a master plan for the park.
Right.
Okay.
And then the one with the Resilience Authority having a session at Pip Moyer.
Yes, that's the Annapolis Maritime Resilience Initiative, otherwise known as AMRE. And that one is on the 2nd of February from 6 to 8.
Okay.
Eastport flood mitigation is not yet, they're preparing a presentation. I don't think we have a date for it yet. The Department of Public Works will set up another community meeting for that project.
I knew of those other projects, but I didn't know about AMRE. That one is probably a bigger, what is that? Is that more of a strategic, like bigger planning effort, or?
Yeah, so the Eastport flood mitigation, stormwater mitigation project is just focused on Eastport, mostly in street end flooding.
Right.
Whereas the AMRE project is more comprehensive. They're looking at the entire Back Creek watershed and part of the Spa Creek watershed to try to get that whole area together. And they're doing scoping out all the vulnerabilities, their climate change vulnerabilities, albeit many of those are caused by sea level rise and flooding, and then coming up with projects, identifying projects. But there's a big community input aspect of that project for there'll be several listening sessions. This is just the first one.
Okay.
The community's input on what they see as their greatest vulnerabilities and threats and opportunity areas, and also to
Okay.
ask questions about the whole process.
Got it. Thank you.
And then
Even though there are public meetings on these, is there a point in these projects when we might want to invite them to come speak to this group? Because we can't always make all the public meetings. I know, people might be interested but not able to make all these public meetings.
yeah, we may, once they get a little deeper into it and have more to share, maybe appropriate to do that. Can do that. As you know, the plastic bag ban goes into effect today. $500 fine for violations, and repeat violations is a $1,000 fine. We have not had any complaints today. We had one question so far. The county has not issued any citations with respect to their law, which has been in effect for over a year now. They said, compliance was pretty easy. So we're expecting the same, because many residents started just complying, very early on in the city, because some businesses, when the county implemented their ban a year ago, they just did it for all of their businesses in the area. So, for example, the CVS on Main Street, they went ahead and started charging for bags and not handing out plastic bags. So a lot of people are used to it already, having shopped in the county. And I don't expect we'll get a lot of backlash from this. I think any concerns that would be expressed, we already addressed, like during the legislative process and right afterwards. And there was a 6-month gap between when this legislation was enacted in July till its effective date. And the other piece of legislation that went into effect this month on January 1st was the gas powered leaf blower ban. We're delaying active enforcement on that until we can get a voucher rebate program underway. We're looking at providing $100 rebates and $1,500 for residents, and $1,500 rebates to lawn care and recycling businesses that use blowers, so that they can purchase electric blowers. We're envisioning this as a 3-year program with most of the funding in the first year, but we're still working that out depending on demand in the first year. Dylan and I met with the Resilience Authority again today about this. Whoa, cat. To see if they could administer the program for the city. It's just a bit of staff time and a lot of procedures that we would have to go through with Department of Finance and procurement and the Office of Law if we run this through the city. And we also don't have as much staff to deal with it. So the city council did appropriate $105,000 for a voucher program that includes the vouchers and the administration, if we have a third party administer it. And so it looks pretty good for the Resilience Authority to be the take on the management of the program, but I should in the next couple of weeks have a firm decision on that. You guys have our resilience and sustainability update. See, we're doing a lot, writing a lot of grants, looking at a lot of different programs. Just the two of us, we're hoping to hire that third person fairly soon. That was approved in the last budget, the entry-level position. I had a meeting today with the assistant city manager about that position, and hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next month I can advertise for that position, and then a lot of burden will be off just the two of us to handle all of these different programs. Dylan, is there anything you wanted to highlight that we're working on right now?
I'm sure there's plenty of things I could talk about, but I also do want to invite the AAC members to the Admiral Drive
Yeah.
Get the Bag Out campaign that we'll be doing. So we're going to Gardens of Annapolis and adjacent neighborhoods to give out some bags that WNAV Radio donated to the city to help out with our Plastic Bag Reduction Act. And so we're going to be going out. I'm going to double check that it's 1 p.m. On the 25th. That's right. Yeah, this Saturday, the 25th at 1 p.m. We'll be meeting up at the WNAV location. I can send you the address. We're teaming up with Sierra Club, so they're getting some volunteers out there, and yeah, we're just going to go door to door and to try to get reusable bags in people's hands and help educate people about the legislation. It should be above 32 degrees, so it'll be relatively nice out. So yeah, I look forward to it, and I hope you guys are able to join.
Is that Saturday?
Yes, this Saturday at 1 p.m.
Yeah. I wish I could. I'm moving my son back from Easton to this side of the bridge, which I'm very
Oh, yeah.
excited about. So I'm very sorry I won't be able to be there. Otherwise, I would. I would love to do something like that.
Dylan, do you have one of the bags? Are you in the office? Can you hold up one of
I
our
actually
bags?
am. I do have a bag.
The city has ordered about 3,000 bags that we're trying to get into the hands of low income. Well, that's the WNAV bag. Or is
Yeah,
that
we're going to be giving these out.
okay, but do you have one of the sustainable Annapolis bags?
I should. I'll be right back.
And
So
I do see Jeremy's hand has been up too. So
We can finish this train of thought.
we ordered about 3,000 bags. They're nice. They have handles and zippers. Dylan ordered these.
It's kind of blurred out. I'm not really
It's a
sure
little blurry, but you can see they're a quality bag with a handle. They have a
Yeah.
zipper. They're made of recycled plastic, and those are the bags we're trying to get into the hands of mostly low-income residents as a transition to the bag ban. And besides the door-to-door event, Dylan's been distributing them to churches and to food banks, baby banks, and other places. And there's a second wave order that's coming in that Dylan's going to distribute to like Giant, Safeway, and the Save Mart on Forest Drive to target some of our lower income communities, Hispanic communities. And then we'll have them also on our transit routes so that people who are using transit to get to a supermarket and forget a bag, they can get a bag off the bus. So we're trying to make this transition as easy as possible for people until it becomes more of a habit.
Jeremy.
Yeah. So this has to do with something else, not the bag topic. So if anyone else has thoughts or questions on that.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Dylan for pulling all that together and doing the design and getting a really cool bag made.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Jeremy, do you have a question?
Yeah, but it didn't have to do with bags, so I just wanted to make sure others were able to wrap that up. I wanted the tree forum. I assumed when you said the 24th, that means this week?
February 24th.
Oh, February 24th.
Yeah,
Okay.
February 24th,
That's
yeah.
why I asked.
Yeah,
I missed the month when you said it earlier. So
Yeah.
big
And-
difference between this
Yes.
Friday and next
And
month.
are you doing it at the library on West Street again?
Yes, at the Bush
Okay.
Library. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. And then I did have some questions on one of the other updates we didn't get to yet, but I saw the note about the city being included in the Environmental Finance Center's seminar series with
Yes.
other jurisdictions. So that's pretty exciting. So you, Jackie Dillon, Alderman Savage, and Randy are all included in that. So I'm just curious to hear maybe a little more about that. And I wanted to acknowledge in the note as part of that the resilience plan drafting will be pushed back by a significant period of time, which makes sense because you want to do that after you go through this effort.
Right, because this, it's the Maryland Coastal Resiliency Planning project. It's run through the University of Maryland's Finance Center. I'm forgetting how many communities they have involved throughout Maryland that are coastal communities. We had a kickoff meeting, so we really haven't done much yet. The series starts this month, and it'll run through March, where we have our training and technical advice followed to actually create a resilience plan. So it'll be about a 3-month process. And Randy Rowell is on that as a representative working with his community group for the lower income population. That was a requirement that we have staff, a lower income population representative, and then an elected representative, which Alderman Savage is filling that role to participate in the training and in the technical planning. So yes, that will feed into our resilience plan once we're completed with that.
Are they limiting you just to those number of seats? Would there possibly be a seat for a commission member?
I don't think so. I mean, that they were just limited to how many people can participate.
Okay.
We could
definitely look forward to
we
updates.
Could still ask them. I mean, are you interested in participating in that?
I might be. I don't know like when their meetings are scheduled and that sort of thing, but I would be, but I don't know if anybody else would be. Also, are they like?
I started teaching this past fall at UMD, so I'm kind of curious to be interested in meeting some other people that are involved in things over there. So I would be interested.
Well, I can reach out to them and see if they will allow another member.
But again, yeah, it also it's a timing and dates and stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Wednesdays from 1 to 2:30 every other Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Are they in person or virtual?
They're virtual.
The next one's, or the first one starts next week.
Yeah.
If you could check, that would be great.
I'll check with them. I'll look into it. Okay. I will mention for you guys, as you look at your priorities don't have to be our priorities, but what we're, a lot of what Dylan and I will be working on is in the energy efficiency area. Obviously, we're trying to go to net zero in the city. But it turns out like where a lot of our work ends up and where a lot of the grant work ends up is in the energy efficiency realm, in the electrification of buildings, energy efficiency in buildings, solar panels, EV charging, EV fleet, anything you can think of that is, reducing emissions. So a lot of our work and almost everything I have Dylan working on is in that area. Now we still are involved with sea level rise, infrastructure, resilience planning around flooding and sea level rise because it's a big threat, and also temperatures, so cooling of ambient air. That's the trees can really help with that. And it's better to save our existing trees, with their large tree canopies than planting efforts when our nice trees die because they're pulled down by English ivy, or developers take them down, or people who don't like big trees in their backyard in Eastport take them down. That seems like where it happens a lot. It's the magnolia trees that always seem to fall first because of their canopy, which we want. So that's the areas we're kind of looking at, spending a lot of time on. Then there's also the natural habitat for wildlife. Of course, Dylan's working on the solar park, the pollinator project there, and anywhere else we could put wildlife and pollinator gardens throughout the city for biodiversity. That's another priority area for us. One area that we've always had on our list of goals, but have never had the manpower to staff, which we're hoping to do very soon, is in the area of food deserts, because that is a resilient portion. A part of resilience building is that your community has access to good quality food. So that's something we would like to tackle this year. Dylan, help me out. Anything else?
I think you're really hitting things.
Yeah, so
yeah, we
that's where our focus is really going to be. I'd like to get the fleet, our EV fleet, expanded. Right now, we have some EVs in our fleet. We have some SUVs, a lot of Chevy Bolts that inspectors use and that we generally use to get around, staff to go to different sites. But we have a lot of hybrids still in our fleet. It's getting better. Our purchasing is getting better. I know that Alderman Savage has considered legislation to require the city to purchase EVs and replace all vehicles where it's feasible to replace them with EVs. So I think, and that's something we'll be working with our fleet manager on this year. Solar canopy, anywhere and everywhere we can put it, we're trying to do that with all our new building construction and retrofits. And Alderman Gay has proposed legislation that probably will be introduced on Monday to put green roofs on bus shelters. He's proposed a pilot project for 5 shelters. I worked on the staff report for that with him, and I think it's a good idea. We already have a project underway to put solar on half of the bus shelters. The green roofs are another good idea. So when that is proposed, I'm just bringing that to your attention. You may want to consider if you want to weigh in on with that with written testimony or oral testimony at any of the committee hearings or at council hearings.
You're working on a resilience hub. Is that part of the resilience plan, or is that a separate effort?
I couldn't hear that.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I thought I saw somewhere where your a resilience hub is in your list of stuff that you're working on. Is that part of the resilience plan, or is that a separate effort?
That's separate. That's part of the CNI effort. It's like a tag on to CNI. Dylan, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, that's just an application that we put into, I believe it was MEA. And that was basically just to fund a study for the feasibility of adding a resilience hub to that CNI location. And it would include, trying to find different ways of funding it. But yeah, there's no, as far as I'm aware, money available for the direct implementation of it, and there's no plans for that yet. We're just looking to see if it's feasible.
I've been involved in some meetings at work around resilience hubs, and okay. If you're looking for any information about different types, and I don't know, the Urban Sustainability Directors Network and Kristen Baja, you're familiar with her? And okay.
Yeah, okay, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I had a question going back to the Eastport projects, the AMRI and the Eastport Flooding Initiative. Those are both in Eastport, right? So is there any coordination among these efforts to see if there's
yes.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
What kinds of things do they? Yeah.
Some funding was applied for earlier than others. The AMRI effort, as I mentioned before, is a larger in scope project, and it has more than twice the funding. Because the Eastport Resilient Stormwater Initiative is going to focus on the street end parks and the Maritime Museum mostly, that portion could be something that the AMRI project doesn't have to spend its energy or money on, because we already have the money in hand for those other the specific projects on street ends. But they are coordinating. Jasmine Wilding is the stormwater engineer in Public Works that is spearheading the Eastport Stormwater Initiative. She's working very closely with the Resilience Authority on the larger project.
It's good to hear. Any other updates or questions about updates?
I had a question about the bus stops, solar and green roofs. So do you have a does the city have a good sense of the inventory of the bus stops and which ones might be ideal for solar?
Yes. So Public Works worked with the Department of Transportation already in preparing our staff report. We looked into it.
Okay.
I don't have the exact number of bus stops. I know that, as I mentioned, half of them are slated to get solar. There's money currently in the CIP for solar on half of them. And so we looked at, Public Works and Transportation looked at 5 that could be good candidates. They're looking at their location for sun exposure, obviously, the condition that those bus shelters are in right now. If they're in the kind of structural integrity there that could support a green roof, or not too much effort would be needed to make them in good shape to support a green roof. And then also looking at high ridership areas so that there's actually a public education aspect to this. There'll be plenty of exposure. People will see the roof. I think ideally there should be signage included with the project. So why is there a green roof here and what is it doing? It's capturing stormwater, it's filtering stormwater, it's reducing the volume of stormwater to the streets, to the gutters, et cetera. And that this also lowering ambient temperatures. It's also habitat for pollinators. So we have a public education aspect of that as well. So we want to make sure that they are seen. So they selected 5 already. They're recommending 5 of them. And the pilot project would cover 5.
You know, there's some off-the-shelf products that may be more cost-effective than trying to retrofit. I've had a lot of experience with detailing green roofs and even little ones. And some of the main like landscape architecture furniture companies have caught on to these things, and there's some off the shelf. I think that I haven't seen one in a while, so I could look for it and send it to you, but I know that they have stuff out there now.
If you could do that, because I did speak with Alderman Gay last week about we have to do data gathering as well, measure how much the air is cooled, how much stormwater volume, et cetera. He just said data, and then I started working on what kind of data you might want to gather. But I told him there may be I've told him that at least I've seen one company that's in College Park that has an off-the-shelf product. It might be one of the ones you're thinking about. Some of them are pretty costly. There's one that has solar on the shelter as well as the green roof, and it generates the electricity to pump the water captured down into a holding tank under the seating bench, which is then pumped back up to water the green roof. Those I know are around $30,000 a piece for the entire unit, the whole bus shelter with everything. And so I'd be interested in anything you can send to me so I can better educate Alderman Gay about what he's proposing.
Okay, sure thing. I also think, sort of on that same lines, there's an opportunity to combine initiatives on the CNI project. I know that's a hot spot for putting a lot of these ideas in, but I have a contact who has put rooftop gardens on top of affordable housing and HUD development projects, and he has figured out the system and the soil type, and he even goes in and figures out in the community if there's a group that could maintain and operate, and then he like, if there'd be funding to pay him to like then train that group, and then there's the operator after it's done. But what has been shown is that those installations help with a culture shift. And so you hit the food desert issue to a degree. And I know there's gardening already happening over there, and community members are already really into doing their gardens. So, so there's already interest. But then if you don't have the space on the ground, because I mean, I've seen the plans, and there could be some small space, but there's
Right.
a lot of rooftop space, especially on those larger buildings.
Right.
So there's knowledge and experience out there to make that whole kind of idea work. If you're,
I'd be really interested in anything you can forward to me or make that contact.
I will connect you. I can connect you with that person. Yeah.
Okay. That'd be great. Thanks.
Mhm.
Alicia, did you have your hand up?
I did. I was just going to add that I would be curious to know if they're going to prioritize using native plants for the green roofs, and seeing any data to see if, you know, the carbon impact of removing and producing these green roofs and installing them outweighs the carbon benefit of them
Right.
versus something like
That's one of the issues I put in my staff report was, you know, native plants. I'm assuming that's the way we're going with them. That's where we should go with them, and to support our native pollinators. And then the legislation is currently drafted. It requires data reporting. So it doesn't say what kind, but I did some research on my own, and carbon capture was one of them. I think we don't, I pointed out to them, we don't have the tools necessarily to do that. We might have to be investing in some tools. And I've also pointed out where, you know, which staff would be impacted. So it may make more sense to have a company that does this kind of evaluation and data reporting and can issue a report. There's a report that we do after a year about the data that's gathered, to do that for us, rather than to try to, you know, we may not have the expertise on staff to do that or the equipment. So Jenny or anyone else, if you know of companies that do that kind of work, you know, that's the next step I was going to research is that exactly, are there, you know, consultants out there that can do that for us?
Yeah, those kinds of life cycle analysis on carbon are so tough. A
Yeah.
lot of times you have to get, that's why some of the off the shelf products, sometimes they have that, or you are just looking at your general material use and you just kind of like get a rough ballpark kind of estimate. And it's really based, like, are you looking at 30 years? Are you looking at 10 years?
Yeah.
So that it's tough to really get an accurate assessment on that. I don't know, unless somebody else has seen another. I haven't seen much beyond just when it's a small, like, we make, for example, Kebony wood. We make Kebony wood, and this is how much carbon is in that piece of wood. But when you have a whole system, that's harder.
So this will probably get introduced on Monday, and I'll make sure I get you the legislation once it is introduced. Sounds like we have a lot of expertise here where you guys could be submitting some comments on this legislation.
Sure.
Jeremy, your hand is up.
Yeah, if there's no other questions on that, I was curious if there's any news on the whole watershed submission. I know that
Yes.
it was submitted, but I haven't been tuned in to the latest on that.
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. The whole Watershed Act opened up grant funding to watershed communities to be funded over a 5-year period. That grant was put together by the city and the county with the help of the Resilience Authority, who ultimately submitted the proposal for us for the Severn River watershed. And we identified about $47 million of potential projects that could be great projects, green projects, and DNR is administering the state funds, by the way. So ecological uplift projects are very much a part of it as well, because of the DNR focus. And there's a big community outreach piece of it as well. So the city and the county submitted this proposal. Not all of the projects, if we are selected as one of the 5 communities that will be approved for grant funding, they don't have to approve us for $47 million. The amount we will receive will likely be less than that. And not all projects can be implemented, obviously, with those funds. But the next phase, that was submitted in October, the very beginning of October, to DNR, the grant proposal. And the DNR is going to convene a meeting with Annapolis on the 31st for all the reviewing agencies will participate as well, and to go over our proposal. We've invited the mayor and the county executive to attend the beginning of that meeting as a way of introduction, talk about sustainability and resilience, the importance of these types of projects for both of us to achieve our resilience goals. So that's the 31st. That's the next step.
And so they're doing these review meetings for all the applicants?
Yep.
Okay.
I think there were 9 applicants total.
Okay.
And there's 5 awards that will be made. 5 communities will be selected, that is.
And I know there were the categories, and that the Severn River was more the suburban type category.
Yes, yes. There's an
Were there
urban,
other suburban? What's the other? Are there other suburban ones that out of the 9 you know of?
That's a really good question. I don't know.
Okay.
Because there was urban, suburban, and agricultural. And
Yeah.
Severn River Watershed was suburban.
Because some of the other watersheds, I assume, submitted, I would tally as either agricultural or urban. I can't think of another suburban one.
I think we're in, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're in pretty good shape, it being such a large watershed, state capital. We've got a lot of community partners in this, a lot of nonprofits and other community partners. And the projects are good. So I think it's very competitive, but we have a good shot at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm very curious and eager on that one. Thank you for that update, and good luck with that meeting.
Thank you.
Do you know once they do the review when they'll make decisions?
It was, I have to go back and look at the timeline again on that, but it was, I want to say that they were going to awards in the spring.
I think it was sometime in March. I think they were going to make the
Yeah,
announcement, but I don't remember the exact.
It's early spring. And then funding will follow from there.
What's the term of the grant? How long do you have?
It's a 5-year grant.
5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, be pretty game changing.
Any other questions for Jackie and Dylan? And as far as the green roof legislation, I know you said you'd give us a copy of it when it's available and when it's appropriate, like when our, if we were to submit a letter, let us know when.
Yeah, and that'll get referred once it's introduced to committee. It'll go to all, environmental committee, obviously, and we'll find out what other committees it'll go to.
Okay, so we can discuss that again in the future.
Mm-hmm. It'll go to rules and it'll go to finance as well.
Okay. All right. So if there's nothing more on that, we can move to the next item, which is future agenda items, suggestions or requests from the members, and of course, Jackie and Dylan, if you have thoughts and ideas, always welcome. So anything for next month or the future? Mary Ann.
I just want to thank Dylan for putting together the highlights. They are so helpful. Yeah, it's It's great.
That-
Yeah. And
It's mainly Jackie.
well, thank you.
I concur. They're very
Yeah.
comprehensive.
So helpful just to be able to go over them and yeah.
So I went to that form a little while ago. We used to do this in an Excel spreadsheet. I think it was a little unwieldy, and then I knew the Environmental Matters Committee was having a little trouble with it. So about a year ago, I went to this format, and they were very happy. So I think everyone's more is happier with this format. I think it allows us to highlight, things that are, when I put update, that means that something new has happened in that. And then I take off things that are no longer active. So we're already working on the next one. Once we've established this format, it's really easy to update it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's great.
Yeah, thank you. It's a team effort.
So thoughts for next month's agenda?
Well, you obviously have to do your priorities
Yes.
and elect a vice
That'll be
president,
chunk.
the vice
That could
chair.
be a big chunk.
One of our old priorities was to support the resilience plan creation. So if there's any like specific ways as you're thinking through that, I know you all are so busy, but we can keep that on there and keep it general. But if there's like specifics there, that would maybe help. We could incorporate it into that priorities. as
Okay.
well. Just something to think about.
Is there a library of past annual reports from the commission? I don't really have a good understanding of the history of the commission and the things they've done, and it would be helpful to me as I'm thinking through, what next for the commission, to maybe be able to read through those.
See if Hillary has kept a catalog of that.
We do have them
Yeah.
on our Google Drive
Oh, you
as
do?
well. I just have to flip through the other years. But if you're not seeing other like folders marked with at least the last few years, let me know.
How far?
Thank you.
I should dive into the. I need to dive into the Google Drive. How far back do we go?
So at least I can see 2021.
That's what I can see too. 2021.
Because I think, Jackie, you said that like the commission stood up like around 2014, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll definitely dive into the Google Drive, but if there are previous years that you could provide, that'd be great. I appreciate it.
This commission, as I was telling you, Kathy, has gone through, whoever, sometimes it's the chair that drives some of the initiatives and what they focus on. But in the past, we had when I first came on board with the city in 2018, there was a lot of focus and had been a lot of focus, as Bill will remember, on development projects. We had a lot of problems with our trees preservation on development projects, and a lot of problems with sediment and erosion control. That has improved vastly. I think Bill will agree with that.
Absolutely.
But there was a lot of focus on each meeting on reviewing those development projects. And we had planning and zoning and public works and quite often to talk about, some of their improvements they were making to their programs. But things have gotten better with that. We have new sediment and erosion control policies. We have better tree canopy goals and more funding for our tree. We have our city foresters now in planning and zoning, working more closely with the planning staff. So that should be something when development projects come up, but we don't have as many big ones anymore. Providence Point was one of the big topics of discussion. That process has worked its way through as well. So now we're talking more these days, as I mentioned, about energy projects, because that's a much bigger focus for the city and for everyone in the environmental arena. We went through the when we were doing the comp plan last year again, there was a lot of focus on that. So, sometimes it depends on what's going on with the city. City dock was a big topic of conversation for a few years. That process is still ongoing, but I think overall the design is pretty well set. So it's largely tied sometimes to what's going on in the city, what kind of legislation or big projects, what priorities the city's working on.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Mary Ann?
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to read the environmental portion of the comp plan. I mean, because that really gives us such a good overview.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I use kind of like my body for the tree canopy.
I think that's a great idea, is maybe we can highlight for you the sections that this committee might be more interested in working on, and kind of holding them to the letter of, you know, this is what's in the comp plan. And
yeah, because it's great for us to just kind of, you know, use that as the sort of the guideline. 'Cause
right.
those are the goals.
Anyone else?
Well, something I know I would have liked to, but just didn't make happen was the concept of convening maybe once or just a small number of times, not every month, but sometime in person.
In person,
Yeah, I mean, that used to be the norm pre-pandemic. Obviously, this is far more convenient on a normal basis, but I know I have heard from at least some folks that if we did that a limited number of times, it would be beneficial.
So do those meetings then happen in the city council chambers or whatever they're called?
We usually get a conference room for that.
Conference room. But they're still live streamed too, or are they
Yes.
then just in person? They're just
Well,
okay.
we didn't live stream them. We we recorded them, and they were open to the public. We might now, since we're live streaming all of our meetings, we probably would be live streaming, but I'd have to check with our TV crew, see what requirements they have for meetings.
Yeah, that would be great if you could let us know. So it sounds like at least some of you are interested in meeting at least a couple of times a year in person. I would love to meet you all in person.
Yeah, that'd be
Only
fun.
I've done that with a couple of you, so I'd be in favor.
I think if we even did one this year, I think that'd be a win.
Yeah.
We can start small.
Start small. When the weather's warmer.
Warmer, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we could talk about that next month and maybe pick a month and vote on it if people are inclined to do that.
Oh, and I realized, do we need to get that list of dates together then for the city? Maybe that's something we should also put on your list, Kathy. So I think I normally try to provide that list of dates for the city so that if we are streaming the meetings, they have the staff lined up.
Okay. And so generally, I know it's not written in stone, but did we meet in August last year? Did we take August off? I know we took December
We usually
off.
take August off because that's when the council's in recess. And December, we've also usually taken off, especially since our meetings are normally later in the month.
Does anyone have any thoughts about keeping our regular schedule of, what is this, the third Wednesday?
Fourth
Is this the
Wednesday.
fourth? Is this the fourth Wednesday? I don't even know.
Yeah, fourth Wednesday, 7 p.m.
Fourth Wednesday, 7 p.m., except for August and December.
So far, so good.
Yeah, we can maybe look at the list in February and see what needs to move.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's look at that in February and if that interferes with any holidays. Any other thoughts on agendas?
Well, as we, as more legislation is introduced, sometimes Alderman Savage likes to come to these meetings and talk to us about what's on his environmental agenda. You can also invite, any other aldermen who or women who would wish to come. If you need explanation on any, let's say for existence, you what example you wanted to talk more about the Eastport flood mitigation study, you can always invite Public Works to come speak to you about that. So you can think of guest speakers, obviously, and if you want to invite Alderman Savage again to come, and if he's got some ideas on his environmental agenda.
Yeah, he hasn't been here for a few months.
We had him in was it November or sometime in the fall?
Yeah, I wasn't here in November. I don't
He
remember.
gave a report about his Sweden trip.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
Trip. That was earlier in the fall, right? Because I think I was here for that.
He gave that in November.
I guess I did miss it. I have to watch the recording.
I did have some interesting historical photos of Annapolis back when we had public transit and
he
streetcars.
He brought that up, and that's a meeting that I have a couple of meetings coming up on the streetcars with Alderman Savage and Patrick Denker of the Denker Foundation, who has been helping with those trips to the Netherlands and Sweden, has done a lot of research on streetcars and trolley systems in other cities. So I'm meeting with Mr. Denker and Alderman Savage and Department of Transportation and later next week. Planning and zoning obviously is also involved. So we're starting to, kind of scope that out, how that might work in Annapolis. We did dig up an old transit study that was done in 2009 for West Street, and it looked at a potential trolley system that would run downtown or perhaps from Church Circle out to Parole and then on to the medical center, the mall and the medical center. So connecting that part of the county, that whole corridor to downtown. So probably more on that coming next month. We might be able to talk about that or have Alderman Savage talk about it. So I think he'd like to propose legislation very soon.
Okay. I'd be in favor of having him come to the next meeting. Do we have to vote on any of these ideas for an agenda or?
No,
Okay.
agenda's all you and in consultation with Jackie and Dylan.
Okay.
You have the
Makes it a little
power.
easier. I have the power. I just need the ideas.
Yeah, contingent on
you
people
all come
ability
in.
to show up too, right? Like when the aldermen or others can donate their evenings.
Is there anyone on the committee with a background in trolleys or anything like that? Electric transport? Okay. So it seems like you guys it's so wide ranging, your expertise. Just throwing it out there.
I'm sure if Paul was here, he would say something about it.
I'm sure he would.
All right. So you'll
Jackie, I have another suggestion.
You would invite the alderman, or do I reach out to him? Or is that
you can reach out to him?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody.
Dylan.
Yes, sorry. I was going to say it's been a couple of years, but we did have a nice presentation from I think her name is Zoe Johnson, who is with the U.S. Naval Academy and all of their resiliency efforts with the Naval Academy. We can maybe reach out to her, invite her to get an update from the Naval Academy and Naval Station Annapolis as to what they're doing.
Okay. That would be, yeah, probably timely. They're working on finishing up their wall, the $30 million wall or $39 million wall. And then they have several projects like Gate Zero flooding, widening the sidewalks up past the bridge that goes over College Creek for to make it a lot more safe. If you haven't ever walked over there, it's very, very narrow. Future, and then some other future projects. There's the Gateway Park project as well. And these are all initiatives that we're kind of collaborating with the city, not the wall, but all the other projects. So I think I have a meeting with, I used to have monthly, but they've kind of tapered off. But I think we're going back to monthly meetings with the Navy and the city. And I have one coming up, I think, next Friday. So we'll probably get a resilience update from them then. And I can see with Zoe if they are at a point where they can share some progress on their initiatives.
They did have what sounded to be a very ambitious, like, subterranean cistern for capturing runoff.
Yeah.
And then treating it. I don't know if anything ever came of that, or if that's still just a concept.
That has not been implemented yet, but I can get it up. Well, I'll see where they are with all of their projects, and I think that might be a timely have her in the next couple of months. But I'll know more when I meet with the Navy. I think it's next Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Is Greenberry Point in the city or the county? I mean, I know it's
county.
naval.
It's the county. Yeah. Nothing's being done there yet.
I know people are watching, so
They are.
they are watching. Okay, thank you, Bill, for that suggestion.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to wrap up. What is wrap up, Jeremy? Just
Good question. I guess I don't really do much other than just closing remarks. I guess if you want to do a recap of what we've decided, you can do that, or maybe if Dylan's been taking the notes, he might do that as well. But I think we just had the letters and then the leadership decisions in this for this month. So can use the recap or eliminate it on your future agendas. I just have it there as part of my template.
okay. Dylan, do you want to take a stab at it?
Sure. It sounds like we wanted to postpone some different things, including appointment of a new vice chair. We were going to have some more discussions about priorities for the AEC, and I'm trying to remember what else the group discussed. If I'm missing anything, to talk about next meeting. But in terms of next steps for the group, I think that's all I have.
Okay, I know Jenny offered to send some information to Jackie about the rooftop gardens, and next month we will also confirm our dates for the year and potentially pick a date for an in-person.
Right. And you were going to reach out to Rob, I believe.
Yes, I will do that. That is my action item.
And I'll send the letters we approved on to Seven River Association.
Kathy, I have one question for the group before we go to. Does anyone have any expertise or know anybody in this solar agrivoltaics field. So the combination of agriculture and solar panels. And the reason I ask is because we've explored a couple of times having sheep or other livestock help with the grazing at with the maintenance of plant life at the solar park. The current solar park operator is not a fan, but this is a growing area. There was an article in the Capital Gazette today about solar. They call them solar sheep, and it's become 60 solar parks now have sheep grazing for maintenance of the ground cover in 27 states. There's actually a solar sheep association, grazing sheep association. I learned in that article. I have to look this up. And then I was Googling something, and they had a bunch of interviews with her on YouTube, and they showed it tonight on the news on Channel 2 as well. The same video that I found on YouTube about solar sheep. So does anyone here have any experience with sheep grazing, agrivoltaics? No. Okay. What's that, Kathy?
Something I'll do in my next career. So I wish I could say yes, I do, but
Well, it's something that we haven't completely let go of, and I just want to gather more information about it.
and the only other thing was that Jackie, you were going to let us know if there was a possibility of a seat on the coastal resilience training thing. Yeah. Okay.
I have a number of assignments, so yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Information, and I'll look into where we are with the Naval Academy on the resilience planning, and what a good time would be to have Zoe give us an update. Kathy, we were going to reach out to Alderman Savage about when he thinks a good time would be come in and talk about any of his new initiatives. Maybe the trolley, streetcar, transit, electrical transit.
Yep, I will do.
Okay.
Well, I will just close by saying, looking forward to taking on this new role, but really asking for your help because this is very new to me. So looking forward to working with all of you, and in particular, whoever is going to raise their hand for vice chair. Looking forward to that discussion. And if anyone is interested, Alicia, and you want to talk to me, happy to have a chat offline. So looking forward to whoever I'll be working with on that. So thank you. And so I guess somebody makes a motion to.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And that's me making the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Well, everybody stay warm, and we will talk next month. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Kathy, just let me know.
Thank you, Kathy.